Now, while I was filming that video for the John boat, I was going through the carburetor and I actually thought about it would be a good idea for me just to post a little video separate from that, just going over the basis of how I clean that carburetor out. Those gravity-fed carburetors for the small engines, dirt bikes, motorcycles, lawn mowers, even weed eaters, whatever, they're kind of similar to each other. There are going to be some differences, obviously, but the basics are there. So I hope this video serves a good purpose for do-it-yourselfers, kind of like me, who just need to get pointed in kind of the right direction, especially if you've never messed with one of these carburetors before. Again, there's going to be some differences, but they are relatively similar to each other, especially with this ethanol fuel nowadays. They get gummed up real easily, and it's just a real easy thing that you can check and do yourself, and it doesn't really take long to get comfortable with it. So I hope this helps, so let's get into it. Alright, so I don't get all my stuff mixed up between the two carbs. I'm just going to do one at a time. So the first step, we're going to crack our bowl open here. Oh, need my wrench. Crack both of these, just make sure there's no fuel left. Doesn't look like it, so that's probably good, or it could be really bad. It could be super gummy in there. We're gonna find out though. All right, your rubber bits, carburetor cleaner will cause them to swell. So try to be conservative on your rubber bits, and especially your like paper gaskets and stuff like that. The carb cleaner will just destroy it. So you just got to be just a little careful with it. So typically what I do is I just spray a little on this is just like an old toothbrush end, and I'm just give a little scrub. This is just the drain plug, so I'm not super concerned about it. These gravity-fed carbs are pretty similar to each other. Four-wheelers, dirt bikes, these outboard motors like this, jet skis, even some motorcycles. They're all relatively similar. So your bowl is here. This is where your fuel is stored. And your float and everything is located. These things will strip, so be careful. A lot of people replace these with Allen heads. That can kind of help, just less prone to stripping, but take your time. That's why I have these little pair of vice grips here as well. All right, so sometimes pay attention. We're lucky on these are all the same size screws here. Some of them are different lengths depending on the carb, so kind of watch out for that. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. All right, oh, we're not too bad in here. That's not too bad at all. Float, main jet. I'm not sure if it has a secondary. It's capped off there. All right, so we're going to remove these pieces. Again, watch out for the seal here, so I'm going to be real careful with this. Just going to give it a little spray out like that. Again, give my little brush of spray. Again, be ginger on the gaskets because the carb cleaner is going to make it swell. So typically I just use a little squirt on a brush head, give it a little scrub, and then take a clean rag and let's get that surface nice and clean. Spray the outside of it off too.
Go ahead and try to dry that off so that gasket doesn't swell up too bad. There we go. Not too bad. All right. Let this dry real good before we do anything else. All right, this is your float. Some of them usually have like a little, well, most of them have like a little set screw like this. So remove the screw off to the side. Let's make sure we don't get these mixed up. All right, so this is your float, and this little thingy right here, this is what allows the fuel to flow in and out. It does have a little like rubberized tip. So again, don't want to douse it. Back off. And mainly that rubber little tip there. I just don't want to overexpose it to the carb cleaner is all. All right, we're going to give this a nice spray down. Make sure I don't lose my rod there. Should be fine there. Slide that back in so we don't lose it. All right, so now the jet. All right, main jet. Yeah, again, don't want to drop it and lose it, so we're going to do it over top of this. Shield your eyes, because this stuff burns if it gets it in your eyes. So I use these. They're actually for cleaning out tips of welding guns, like your welding tips. I mean, and you have different sizes. Let's just kind of ream them through a little bit. Don't apply a lot of force. I'm just being very light-handed with it, just to make sure it's nice and clear. You want a nice, even, round hole. All right. Okay. All right, so now we're going to try to clean the carb itself. It's going to be a little bit annoying just because we're trying to not separate the links on the carbs. Probably could be okay. They look fairly set, but these little plastic tabs like this, I'm nervous about taking off because they can break and stuff, and I don't want to have to replace them. So I'm just dealing with it. Now some carbs you'll have like a secondary jet and like an idle jet. These are pretty simple. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, see, that's just, that one's capped off. So we really shouldn't have to do anything with it. We're just gonna leave it capped. That would be a secondary, but it looks like this might just run off a dual carb primaries only. We're just gonna leave it that way. Obviously how it was before, so we're not gonna change it. I'll clean out the inside of the throttle body. Through the top where the main jet goes. We're also gonna send our little tool down. Give a little spray out. Make sure our contact surface is nice and clean. Now we're going to put it back together and do the same thing to the other one. So, main jet goes in. Got this little, might be hard to see, but you got this little loop. It loops over your little tab here. And that just kind of hangs, and you just drop it in its hole. and reinstall our set screw. There we go. Make sure it moves freely. Drain bolt, and reinstall our bowl. All right, now I'm just going to repeat for the other one. Okay, both of the bowls have been cleaned out. Now, a lot of times you can get away with reusing the bowl gasket. It just kind of depends. But most of the time you can get like carb rebuild kits that'll come with all the new gaskets and stuff like that. But I normally try to reuse them, and if I have a leak, then I just pull them off and replace them if I have to. We're going to go to the top side. Be careful with these armatures here. Don't want to break those plastic pieces. All right, so we're going to take off the tops here. This is typically where your diaphragm is located on like your ATVs and dirt bikes and stuff. But
boats are similar, they're a little different looking. Just gonna pull this off. Be real careful pulling the bow.
All right, so we got these little caps here. So we're going to be real careful with those. Spray. And get on down to these holes here. Look for little ports. There's 3 little ports right here. So these little caps here are rubber. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a wipe down with just a rag with some of the carb cleaner on it. Good there. Make sure we recap our stuff. Oops. We missed something. Did miss it. Almost missed it. Get in there, you. There we go. Now we can get a cap. You can see, this is why I was saying, I don't know if y'all can see it on the camera that good, but this little rubber cap is not wanting to stay seated that great. It's because that carb cleaner has started to make it swell some. So that's what I was talking about, trying to be ginger with that carb cleaner when you're working with the little rubber bits. Let's go there, will you? Let's tighten this back up, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And now the carb is clean. We're going to, I'm not going to spray this with any carb cleaner at all, because I don't want to mess up this little paper gasket. I'm trying to reuse it. It still looks to be in pretty decent shape. No like splits or bad cracks or anything in it. So I'm just basically just brushing it off. Actually, you can just reuse some of this. Okay. I'll just do a little bit on the inside here. We'll come over here back to the motor. We'll make sure our contact surfaces here are clean as well.
once all that is completed, you just work your way back, just right like where you started from. You just kind of reassemble from there. Now, I hope this helps anybody who likes to try to dive into this stuff themselves and just kind of tinker around. This is just some good basics anyways, but I appreciate y'all tagging along and just kind of keeping up and see what I'm doing here at the ranch. You'll never know what project I'm getting into. I'm always thinking of something. Now, if you like this sort of stuff, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.